for accreditation and Medicare. And yes, I'm still working, even though my friends remind me daily that this is a retirement community. I moved to Deerfield primarily because my husband had been there in the health center in the hospice program, and before he passed away, he said, I do not want you staying in that house by yourself. I think you should look at a place like this. Well, I had the opportunity while he was there to see the facilities without them knowing that I was a nurse and a surveyor, and that's what helped me make my decision. It still took me 2 years after he passed away to come there, and I can tell you that I know you're all struggling with the same thing. When's the right time to move? And I have to say, I wish I would have done it sooner. And what really brought me to moving was the fact that I was traveling and working, and many times I would not be there on garbage day. So the garbage man would come, and unfortunately my garbage sat in the garage. And it finally dawned on me what's going to happen in the summertime when that smelly garbage is sitting in your garage for several weeks at a time. And that really is what prompted me to move to Deerfield.
Thank you, Elsie. Phil?
My name is Phil Yerge, here with my wife Rosie. We moved to Deerfield approximately 2 weeks ago. My wife and I had made a decision approximately 2 or 3 years ago that we wanted to go to a community like this. We currently have a home in Florida, which we'll go to after Christmas this year, and we will sell our house there, and Deerfield will be our permanent home, other than the fact that we'll probably go to Florida January, February, March and just rent. So we looked at retirement communities like this in Florida. We actually put money down on a retirement community down there. When we came home this summer, my lovely wife said, why don't we look at some places here just to see if we could compare what it's going to be. We did that. We came to Deerfield, and Deerfield is a wonderful, isolated community inside of a large community of Urbandale, Iowa. And it's open, it's not a wall, it's not a gated community, but I think that's one of the charms of the community is you don't have to have special permission to come in other than during this COVID time. So anyway, we're both 72. We feel that we're young enough to do this, and we can enjoy the community until such time as we may need some of the other facilities that are here. But it's nice for our children to know that we have the backup of the rest of the community to take care of us should we have the need. So that's my story.
This is Rosemary Yerge. Everybody calls me Rosie though. And I'm the one who kind of started this journey with Phil. He wasn't really quite sure he wanted to do it, and I don't know if anybody is ever really sure. I finally came up with the word, I was willing, and then I think Phil found out he was willing also. So anyway, we took the step about 3 months ago, and Deerfield was marvelous in that they made our town home absolutely perfect to our liking. Since we've come to the community, I think probably the main thing that I feel so comfortable about is it's worry-free living. I have no stress, and a tremendous feeling of a sense of community. So the people that live at Deerfield have literally welcomed us with open arms. I cannot say enough. The food is great, the staff is great. You pick up the phone, you say I need something, and they're there in a minute or two. And I'm serious when I say that. So the other thing probably that I have discovered about Deerfield is the biking and the walking paths are absolutely beautiful beyond anything that I could imagine. This morning I walked with my dog Buddy, and we went all the way up to whatever that parkway is, in Urbandale anyway, and just had a delightful time. Met a lot of people from Urbandale that are walking the paths, and also a lot of people from Deerfield. So it's an active community, and we're just really glad that we made this change in our life.
Thank you, Rosie. Dr. Hussein?
My name is Dr. My name is Hussein. I practiced in Des Moines for 50 years, and the time I spent to retire, my son took over my practice, so we retired. And my wife, also a physician, she taught, she was a professor of pathology at the Des Moines University for 30 years. And then all of a sudden she started having back problems and all the story, and she started falling down. One of my sons, who lives in Boston, he found out, so he said, okay, you guys have a choice. Either you come to Boston or find a place. So we started, looking. And then we have some people we know at Deerfield. My son's mother-in-law has been there for more than 10 years. And other people we know, they were there. And we started hearing really good things. So when we started talking in the community, nobody said a negative thing. So my sons came down, and we went down and saw other facilities. And the more we went down and saw it, the more we liked Deerfield. And we have been here, we have eaten here, and the food is excellent. And then we found out that, the people who are working there, he's a good salesman. And then the queen here, she did everything we wanted. But like she said, the response, I like it so much. You call for something, they're there. And I get to know all their names, they come and just fix the things for you. Very nice. And the food is excellent, there's no question about it, especially the fish. Our chef is a very good at it, the fish. It worked out very well. We have no problem at all. We're just there, and hopefully stay on.
Thank you. Mary?
I'm Mary Walter, and I moved in June 8th of this year. And I'm alone in my big house. I'm looking around and thinking, just what am I doing here? And I decided that I would decide on my own, not by my children's choice of where I was going to go. So I started looking at facilities in the Des Moines area. I decided to stay here in Des Moines, although my children live all over the country. And I felt like Deerfield was the perfect fit for me because the staff answered all the questions. 2 of my children came to visit, and they answered all the questions that they had. And we looked at, I was waiting for a certain size apartment, but then Bill talked me into looking at one of the larger ones. And I walked in, and with all the windows and the bright things, I decided on that unit. And I have been very pleased. And also another thing that was important in my decision was the location. As close to the hospitals, the doctor's offices, the convenience of grocery and pharmacies, very close to Deerfield. And I just felt like this would be the best home for me. It was also very close to my home church, and I think there's many other churches real close in the area for somebody that's moving in. And even though I've been here during the COVID, I feel that the members have been very, very friendly. They are very conscious of social distancing and wearing masks when we're in things. Another thing I like is that we have social distancing in the workout room and in the where we do exercise classes. I go to a balance class and in the karaoke class, and we're just really enjoying that. And I've met many new friends there. And I don't consider this just a place that I'm renting for a short time. I consider this Deerfield my new home.
Thank you, Mary.
So a question that we commonly get from prospective residents during this time is, what is life like in a retirement community during a pandemic? And I'd like Elsie, who is a registered nurse, to talk a little bit about that and the protocols we have in place and why so many of our residents tell us that they couldn't be anywhere and feel safer than Deerfield.
Yes, absolutely. I have to say, it is the safest place I feel that I can be. Just for a little background, there was a time last month when there were 54 long-term care facilities in Iowa that had outbreaks of the COVID virus. Now, in our facility, we have had no outbreaks, and we started on March 14th of this year with a 3-phase program where we actually closed a number of events, and we have security out in the driveway. People who come into the facility are checked before they ever arrive, and then our team members are checked twice a month, twice a week actually. We've gone to once a week now, are checked for the virus. So they're all encouraged to stay home. We've made provisions for them. So we know that the team members coming in to care for the residents and take care of our needs are healthy, and that's why we feel like we haven't had any outbreaks. I will say that we have very extensive contact tracing that is available if there would be an outbreak. Most of the residents aren't even aware of this, but basically, I'll give you an example of our dining room. The dining room was closed for a while, and they did deliver our meals to us in our apartments and townhomes. However, they were meals from not just a sack lunch with a sandwich, but they were meals from the regular restaurant menu, which was very, very nice for us. But when they opened the restaurant, we started out with having, the distancing and not fully, I think we're about, 35% or something like that we began with. But what people don't realize is the contact tracing. They know who sits at each table, who waits on the people at that table, and if there was an outbreak or someone who tested positive, they would be able to notify us before anybody else was even aware of that. So I think that is probably the biggest thing that has kept us safe. Now, we've opened slightly a few events. I think as Mary was talking earlier, she's been down in the exercise and workout room and doing different events like that besides the dining room. We're right now at 10 people per event, and hopefully that will open up soon to maybe go to 30 people, but at this time it's still at 10. In the health center, they are also not allowed to have visitors, and we don't go from one level of care to the other visiting. We all stay in our own area, but they have been just amazing in the activities they have provided us and the opportunity for us to maintain our psychological well-being, if you will, as well as our physical health. So I'm very, very pleased to be at Deerfield, and I can't think of another place I'd rather be. Even home alone, we wouldn't get the kind of activities and the attention that we get here at Deerfield.
Thank you, Elsie. I know that's top of mind for many people who are considering making this move, and hearing it from a professional like yourself and a resident, I think goes a long way. Ray, you and your wife live in a townhome, and you were one of our younger residents. Why did you guys decide that it was a good time, and why did you choose Deerfield?
I think we're losing the youngest resident here in her case. Yeah, we come from a very small family, both my wife and myself, and people in our family know there's small families that live a long time. My mother's almost 97, and she's still functional, shall we say. And so we have to take care of ourselves with no children. And so we decided where can we go is most like where we live, but still have total independence movement. So we moved in a townhome because it's open, it's right on the trail. We can do what we want to do, be involved in what we want to, what we don't want to. My wife walks all the time for her health problems. And basically, one reason we moved to townhome is we did the financial analysis. My wife's an RN, she did the healthcare analysis for moving in and compared to other places in the Des Moines area. And we moved back and decided that Deerfield was the best place to go. And I could tell you always look at the contracts, I always tell you what you're really getting. And I think you get a really great deal at Deerfield, particularly the townhome. I really love the townhome setup. And as I mentioned earlier, all the inside and outside maintenance taken care of. And there's weekly housekeeping, which my wife loves. And so that's how we ended up there, and it's been a good move. The townhomes are about 1,900 square feet. They're like duplexes with a two-car garage, and we just love it. A few of my neighbors are here also in townhomes.
Great. Rosie and Phil, since you're our newest residents, some of our newest residents, we had, I think, 4 move-ins last month. What's your experience been like in terms of meeting new people? Has that been difficult? Have you met a lot of residents or your neighbors?
Well, we've chosen to go to the dining room and eat pretty much every night. And I can't tell you, I don't even remember all the names of everybody, but we have had literally half of the residents eating in the dining room every night, stop at our table, welcome us, and tell us their background and ask us questions about why we like Deerfield. And I got to tell you, it's just an incredibly friendly place. It feels very comfortable here. I feel kind of like I'm at home, and that's a wonderful feeling.
And Mary, you moved in kind of in the thick of things.
Yes.
Were you assigned a mentor when you moved in, and did people come by and introduce themselves?
Absolutely. Hallie was my mentor, and she even contacted me several times before I moved in. She called me, and then her and her husband had me join them for dinner, which is, she's just been very helpful, showing me all the different, how to manage all the different facilities and things available. And I also feel that I have not met anybody in the hall that doesn't speak to you. They are very friendly and they want to make you feel comfortable. And they really have done a good job with that. And I think that you should realize that this is not an old people's place. I just think we're very active people, and we want to be active, and since we're together, we are active. I'm 78, and I feel like I have a lot of years left, and I'm going to enjoy them in Deerfield.
That's wonderful. Dr. Hussein, you and your wife live in a townhome, correct?
Yes.
How would you say your quality of life has improved since moving to Deerfield?
It's really good, somebody said people are friendly, that's what I thought too. When I came here, I play a lot of golf. My problem was my club is near the airport, Wakanda. 50 years I played there, so the distance was there. So I got a call one day from the guy here, hey, you play golf, why don't you join us in golf? So I thought, well, what a friendly group they got to play golf. Then when I started playing golf, I found out they were looking for somebody who could beat the heck out of somebody. So they called me. So now they enjoy beating me up. So no, very friendly people. That's one thing again. You walked in there, somebody walks up and says, why don't you have dinner with us? Why don't you have dinner with us? Then I got this group of golfers became so friendly. Get together and you play. It's too bad that you cannot stay because we're all in separate cars, then you go back. So it's a very good thing. I just want to call Hal Hicks. Whole last week, we have dinner together. So you get this. They're very, very friendly people. That's what you need at this time of your life.
Right.
And COVID-19 is keeping us apart.
So one of the questions that was submitted by a virtual attendee is, what other communities did you seriously consider and why did you choose Deerfield over that community? And that's just to the group.
Well, I actually live just 2 miles from where Deerfield is, and so I had looked at Legacy because my mother was a resident there. I also had looked at Mill Pond and Ankeny and others, but I really had made up my mind because of the fact that my husband was there and I saw the quality of the care that he got in the health center, and there was no comparison to me. So I looked at others, but none of them measured up to Deerfield.
Anyone else?
Well, we have the opportunity, we live in Florida, and so we went to a place that is just being built, and it will be similar to Deerfield, but we didn't actually, you see mud on the ground, in all of that, and you say, oh my God, I don't know, should we do this, should we not do it? But we did. We went to a number of different parties and met a lot of the different people that were going to live there. And it's simply beautiful also. We also visited a place called Village on the Green, which is a sister community to Deerfield here in Iowa. And that was in the Longwood, Florida, the Orlando area. So having to decide, do we want to be, 1,400 miles away from our family, or do we want to be closer? So many different questions, come up that you need answers to, but you're never going to get the answers to. I finally figured that out. Life is just a journey. So I would say our decision to be back up north and at Deerfield is a good one. It's a real good one. I have no regrets.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because we've actually had a number of people that have moved to Deerfield this year from out of state. Mm-hmm. So, that is a consideration for a lot of the people we're working with as to whether or not to move closer to family or move, where they raise their children, and we get a good mix of that here at Deerfield. Another question that we have is, do you have any regrets of timing to move, i.e. moving too soon, too late? Please explain. Anyone?
No regrets. We were young when we moved here, but we wanted a place where we had the right location, which we think this is, and right on the trail system, the right setup. We wanted the right kind of health plan available to us, etc. And it's just my wife has health issues. This is relief all kinds of stress from her. Worry about the house, the maintenance, worry about the health care. There's all kinds of security. There's social security. There's physical security. There's health security. And it was a good move. She was a little reluctant, but I talked her into it, and we never regretted it for a bit.
My regret is the fact I didn't do it sooner.
Okay.
I wish I would have known and, made the move sooner.
Okay. The next question is, for those of you who have lived at Deerfield for quite some time, how have things changed during the pandemic? I don't know who's lived here the longest.
I guess God thinks
One of you, maybe?
As far as how things have changed, only because of the pandemic and the fact that we have not had the ability to have the events that we usually have in our event center, the live music, things like that. But they've tried very hard to keep us active and provide other types of entertainment for us. Obviously, visitors have been limited, but I think that all of this has been for our benefit. So I really, other than what they call the lockdown, which I think sounds terrible, but in reality, it's protecting us, and so I certainly go along with it.
That was a question as to whether or not our residents were quarantined to their room.
Well, actually, we can go out for essential appointments, essential groceries, things like that. So no, we're not quarantined to our room at all. And there are activities that go on. As I said, we can have 10 people now at these activities. And when we go to the next phase, we're in phase 2. And the next phase, in phase 3, we'll be able to have 30 people together. And some of the other things that they've provided will be opened up. But it's just like this Saturday. We have live music out on the lawn, and people will be able to go out and partake of that and be distanced and be safe, but yet still have entertainment. So they're really working very hard to keep us active and interactive, if you will.
And Elsie lives in the main building, and Ray and his wife live in the townhome. Has your experience been the same during the pandemic in the townhome, would you say, to Elsie's?
Well, I think we feel really, really safe, and that guard at the entrance really makes a difference. Checking people out, taking their temperatures, make sure people just sort of wander in. But also, even in the townhome, we still get the same quality of meals, because you can have them delivered or you can pick them up. And it's not like a box, it's just a full menu, just like we had before. You call in and order your meal, what time you need it, and it's delivered. And we can't tell much difference. And of course, being in town was literally what we've always been on the sideline anyway, etc. So we didn't have any lockdown at all, so to speak. but we just, not much different, just feel really safe, I guess is the best way to say it.
And that's what a lot of the questions that were submitted were surrounded around those things. Any things that we haven't hit on yet that you think would be good for the audience? Linda, do you have any questions?
I do. Rosie, you said that before you moved in, they made your townhome the way you wanted it. What did you mean by that?
Well, in a community like this, there is people that live in these units and then they may die and they might become vacant for a period of time. So what happened, they made ours kind of a model, and they would take prospective people like yourself into this townhome if you were so interested in it. So Phil and I were interested in a townhome, so they were very nice to bring us there, and we would have our meetings, and it was beautiful the way it was. But they literally told me I could have new cupboards, new flooring, new bathrooms, new everything. I was going, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, seriously? New toilets, new everything.
Even cut a hole in the kitchen.
Yeah, and the kitchen used to be a galley, and then they opened it up into the great room. So it's simply beautiful. Kristen worked with us, and we have a wonderful Mike from Aspen Innovations, and he worked on it with a crew of people. It took about 3 months before everything was done, but that worked out great, because then we had the opportunity to sell our condominium, which was just 1.5 miles up the road. So everything just kind of worked perfectly. So that's what that was all about.
So to expand on that, the majority of our vacant inventory is eligible for a renovation. We do have a couple that have already been renovated and would be sold as is, but we have a number of units that you would be eligible to fully customize. So we have what we call our standard finishes for cabinets and countertops. If you wanted something a little bit different, there are upgrades that are available, but the majority of our residents are able to customize their unit, everything from carpet to paint to cabinets.
Bottom is I'm interested in a townhome. And if I were to move into a townhome and the downstairs unit, the downstairs was not finished, are there any standards or restrictions as far as finishing it?
Yes, so that would be done at your cost, but we would they'd have to pass a permit, full permit, and if we were not doing the work, you could bring in your own contractor, but they would have to be licensed and bonded to do that. So the majority of our townhomes the basements are not finished. So with 920 square feet top and bottom, it's a lot. But yeah, absolutely, our townhome residents are able to finish the basements if they choose. Yeah, that's a great question. Are there any other questions that we didn't hit on?
Okay, a lot of folks, and I've talked to you guys, most of you, when you were deciding whether to move or not. There's always fear out there. There has to be a fear factor as to when to move in. And then there's usually a trigger. And some of you have mentioned that, but what are some of the fears? I mean, the people that we're going to talk to about this, and we talk to every day, have the same, you guys went through the process just years ago or months ago. And so what are some of those fears you guys had that you decided not to move in until now? Can you share anything that way? As far as, I don't want to move yet because?
Well, for Phil and I think that we had put money down, 10% down on this place in Oviedo, Florida. So that was our biggest concern. Oh my gosh. I knew we would get the money back, but I just thought to myself, oh, should we stay there or should we come back here? So my biggest, I don't even know if you would call it a fear, Bob. It was just like, where do I belong in life? Where do the two of us belong? I guess you could wait for eternity, and then it would be too late. So, you know, we're considered young to move into this CRCC community. However, it's a 62 and over community. Currently, we live in a 55 and over community in Florida. So now we've just gone 20 years fast forward, right? So it's a good thing. No matter how we look at it, there's never a right time. Truly, I don't think there's, you've just got to be willing to take the step.
Thank you.
Along those lines, something I'd like to bring up that's unique to Deerfield is the fact that we have a satisfaction guarantee. So if we have a resident that for any reason is not satisfied with Deerfield, they want to move out, they want to move to California instead and be closer to their children, they will receive 100% of their entrance fee back immediately upon vacating their unit. So no one else in this market has any kind of satisfaction guarantee like that. I really think that speaks volumes, and for some people it's peace of mind. What's the very worst thing that could happen? I don't like it, but you can get out and you can get all of your money back.
And that's good for 1 year.
For 1 year, yep, and that's unique to Deerfield. Yep.
I have one more question. We've heard a phrase a lot. I'm not ready yet. So if anybody can say, what advice would you give someone that's sitting at home now saying, I'm not ready? Anybody can answer. What advice would you give them?
I think the biggest concern that I might have had is being in a community where I wasn't allowed to go out and be as free as we are in the townhome that we're in now. So I mean, we haven't changed much of anything. We were in a condo building before, and now we're in a townhome, and we come and go the same as we did before. So there's no change in our lifestyle, and the addition of all the new friendly faces that we've met is a real plus, because at our condo, we might not meet anybody that moved in for 3 months. There's no socialization such as there is here, going to dinner, going to events, whatever it might be. So it's a real plus for me anyway, to have the socialization of the people at Deerfield. And I think it's a wonderful thing. It took me, we retired almost 8 years ago, and it took me probably 1.5 to 2 years just to get used to retirement and not being needed or wanted anymore. You know, and people used to come to my office and say, what do we do about this? What do we do about that? And for the first 1.5 years, I sat in Florida and wondered why the hell nobody ever called me. So it took me quite a while. This move to Deerfield has been instantaneous for me, just because of the friendliness and the socialization of the people that are there. And you guys were very helpful. You made us feel extremely comfortable, as did Kristen, the princess.
The queen.
The queen.
I would like to say that if they're really on the fence, if they just take a piece of paper and write down, why am I staying where I'm at?
Yeah.
And then on the other side, what will I gain by being in Deerfield, which basically takes care of our needs. I mean, I know being alone in my house, now I don't have any maintenance to worry about. That was a big deal for me. And it just fits for a person that, if you're looking at why not, think of why shouldn't I, not the negative part. Look at the positive part and what you're going to gain by being in a well-rounded community. I just think that you'll be very happy if you make that decision.
I have a question. What's something for anyone to answer that after you moved in surprised you? Whether it be you felt at home sooner than you thought you would, whether it be, you know, I had this perception of a retirement community and I was blown away because it was different, or what's something that surprised you shortly after you moved in? If you have one.
Well, First of all, I will say that I have not heard anyone since I've been at Deerfield say, I moved too soon. I mean, I think we all look back on it, but I had no idea that I would have so many things to do, activities. I thought I'd be sitting in some apartment by myself when I wasn't traveling, because I was still working and still am. But I was totally surprised at the activities and the friendliness, as we've heard from some of the new residents. It was amazing to me. It was nothing like what I had anticipated coming there. And when people say that they're not ready yet, it's like, what are you not ready to give up? I don't have to shovel the snow, I don't have to cut the grass, do the maintenance, as Mary mentioned, you know, cook the meals, wash the dishes, I mean, clean my apartment, everything's, I get to do the fun stuff. And I haven't given up anything in my, you know, normal life that I would have done, but I don't have to do all those other things now.
I think one of the surprises for me has been the quality of the food. You know, I'm used to, Rose and I just cook for ourselves, so it's pretty simple and basic. I mean, I feel like I'm getting a gourmet meal pretty much every night, and I can have lots of choices, which is a wonderful thing for me. I love to eat, as evidence. It's been a real joy to, I was in the food business for over 40 years, and so I'm very familiar with institutional food and how that works in places of this size. And to have the kind of food that we've experienced so far has been a real blessing. Very, very nice.
There's a downside of 4 years of gourmet meals. I've gained 10 pounds since I moved to Deerfield. Apparently I have no control. Having dessert every day has not been a good thing for me.
That's a Deerfield 10.
Yeah.
Freshman 15 and Deerfield 10.
I'm working on the next 10 right now, I believe. Thank you.
Kristen, one of the things that I reflect on is 7 or 8 years ago when we retired, everybody said to us, what is retirement like? And my answer was, it's like being in kindergarten all over again. Now when you leave and you go 1,400 miles away and you don't know a soul, it is kindergarten. You have to learn how to walk the walk and talk the talk and take lots of risks with meeting people and adjusting. Here at Deerfield, I was kind of scared. I thought, oh my God, am I going to be in kindergarten again? Am I going to have to just struggle with friendships? And the beauty of this place is no. You just simply are accepted. And I think that's probably one of the biggest surprises that I had, is the acceptance. Very nice.
One of the things I really miss, Bob, is the men's group for coffees to me. That was so wonderful to sit down and talk anything. But because of the COVID, to talk about COVID, being in the medical field, my family is also in the medical field, so we keep a little more closer watch what's going on in the nation, and nursing homes and all that. And I'm so proud of this place, the way they handle it. It's just great. And look at, it's not that there's something they are going back, but the control. We are suffering all over, but this place has been done just a great job. We have absolutely zero cases, so one or here and there. You feel good. Like I have all my grandkids and kids, when they want to come to visit, we have them all tested. You come visit me, I have the testing them. But they have done this wonderful job. Whoever planned that is great.
Well, since that's been the really burning question that we've had from most of our prospective residents, and we're coming up on 45 minutes, I think this is a really good time to go ahead and wrap up our live feed. So I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. If you have additional questions, please call our main office. The phone number is area code 515-331-6913. Thank you for joining us.